and with a very good tiebreaker too, I think he'd actually be in a decent spot.
And it's also worth noting that DawN was one of the candidates to actually sneak in end of Division A. It's only because blitzchung beat him at the end of Swiss that DawN ended up in Division B to begin with. Thank you, Lorinda, for that nice tidbit of information. And it's quite funny to see that now that they have gotten into this larger portion of the Grandmaster season, it's been blitzchung who's been performing really well, and DawN we've seen struggle.
Yeah, the one match that we did see blitzchung lose, as you mentioned last week against Tyler, which was, I mean, it was as close to a non-series, I think, as we've come here in Asia Pacific. Tyler just absolutely rolled him in every single one of the games. I don't think blitzchung did anything especially wrong. It was really just a case of Tyler getting the goods game after game. Whereas now, it's a new week, it's a new dawn for blitzchung, and he can turn things around.
Yes, indeed. And blitzchung is one of the players that we've seen probably the most interesting lineup decisions from throughout the round robin portion. Not so much because of the deck brought, but the conclusion he came to that with that lineup, I'm not supposed to ban Warrior, I'm supposed to leave it up. And recently we've been seeing both him and Kin deviate away from that. They have been banning Warrior, maybe as a result also of the different decks that they're bringing. And finally, for this last week of round robin, blitzchung has settled on a Warrior ban.
Yeah, it was really enlightening when you messaged blitzchung to ask about that, where his thinking seemed to be very different to any other approach I've seen to Conquest before, where it wasn't about wanting to ban the best deck because it's most likely to get a win straight away, but it was about trying to give all your decks, at the very least, a decent matchup, none of them with like no chance to take a win or very unfavored to take a win. I'd be curious to know if he thinks that he disagrees with that stance now, or if he just thinks Warrior is too good, and therefore he's just forced into banning it anyway, just by brute strength.
I think he would probably still be in line with his original mindset, because back in the series where he was leaving up Warrior, I think he was banning Zoo because of the Highlander decks that he was bringing, where he was absolutely convinced that Zoo is just a complete lights out matchup for the Highlander decks. He doesn't have a chance to get through with his Rogue or Hunter if he leaves Zoo up, and that is the case now that Zoo has been nerfed in existence, that I think blitzchung can feel comfortable both with the hack mentality and his own approach to Conquest to ban Warrior.
Well, one thing that blitzchung has been swearing by, if not so much his ban strategy, is the Rogue, which I think he has been playing overall pretty well. In his matchup against Staz, there were a couple of things I disagreed with in terms of going a bit more aggressive given how far in the lead he was, but it was really just about how he closed out the game. I think his overall early game and matchup understanding was pretty spot on.
Indeed, and we have seen two other rogues today, which were both Highlander, but what blitzchung has right now is Galakrond with the stealth package, not running any of the secrets. Instead, he's got the Skyvateer, Spy Mistress, and Greyheart Sage.
I do like going for the backstab here. It hurts because you'd want to be going for something a little bit more impactful, ideally, like Battle Fiend or Satyr Overseer, but that's what the Spy Mistress does. It's essentially another backstab in this matchup that you just throw down preemptively.
I think it's because of Spy Mistress that people thought to experiment with Worgen Infiltrator in their Demon Hunters. That is not a thing anymore. DawN is not running it, neither is Chonsu. Was fun to see that, though, creep into some usage last week while there was still not really enough data about Volpera Scoundrel.
I like this for blitzchung. Remove every turn and you're probably going to be in a good spot, especially as his hand is, I think, deceptively decent.
Yeah. I mean, he'll have most likely a dead turn 4, but he has, by being patient with the Spy Mistress, shut down DawN's ideal turn 3s to go for a Satyr Overseer and attack.
Okay, here's the dead turn. Fine, you just leave the Spy Mistress stealthed. None of the nonsense about going too aggressive here.
Great patience from blitzchung. And we've been harping on and on about how he's a premier aggro player, he loves quick decks, but I think we shouldn't sleep on blitzchung's ability to play for value.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of pigeonhole certain players as only being good at one archetype in particular, which for the most part is not true. It's kind of just specialties that players have, like Eddie on the control decks, that you could argue Kin on the control decks. And blitzchung, while he has a favor towards aggro decks, he's just a strong Hearthstone player, in my opinion, way up at the top of APAC.
Yes, indeed. Playing the shield on curve there is a good use of mana, but never feels good with the Kayn on board. Altruist!
Yeah, Altruist is low-key insane here, actually. He can completely clear the board if he desires.
Yeah.
And set up for still powerful plays on the following turn.
High-key insane, Derek.
Ah.
I mean, the coin is just going to get used for hero power here, but I think you're fine with that for DawN. Going into 6 mana, he can still just hero power Glavebound on the follow-up. And he gets
the main thing is here...
Spy Mistress, yeah.
Right, exactly. Spy Mistress is gone, but also Altruist is still just knocking about. The taunts are doing absolutely nothing.
Crazy. blitzchung has used a backstab and an eviscerate already, but he crucially has a lackey to combo out the eviscerate if he wants it. That's pretty big.
It is pretty big. That is full board clear that we are looking at now, straight up for blitzchung. Obviously, tanking a little bit more in the process.
Second invoke as well.
Okay,
It's a
more
great lackey to get. Nice order as well.
Whoa.
Looking for spell damage, but that is a pretty good outcome as well.
Yeah, what a low roll. Didn't even hit the Kobold Geomancer.
Come on, Derek. We're thinking Solarian.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay. So we could see from DawN just hero power Glavebound. Looks like the most straightforward play to me. Lines up really cleanly. But this is the prime flick target for blitzchung.
Oh,
There's no better target in the deck.
From nothing.
Probably just fan, I'd have to imagine. It gives him a little bit of extra AoE.
Sure.
Which is sorely lacking in the deck. Wow,
Hey, we used
snap.
the exact same phrase? What the heck?
We're merging, Gia.
Oh no! My worst nightmare.
Alright. It's not that bad, but actually, I can't even say that with a straight face. It is terrible being.
And so does this turn look for DawN.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these Chaos Strikes being played and shipped to the face, honestly. Oh, you start with one and see from there.
Yeah, I mean, the other line is Satyr, I-Beam, Volpira, but that doesn't even kill off the flick.
Yeah, you would have to, like, end up using Chaos Strike anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see start with Chaos Strike and then evaluate if he gets Warglaives off the top. That makes things a lot easier.
I agree.
And I think it was also a play that we didn't like from DawN last week, where he just held onto a Chaos Strike where it could have just been used for cycle.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that again, because it's not like it's just a snap play that you have to go for, but because you can just use them to go for the face, but they cycle through towards Metamorphosis, Skull of Gul'dan, and Warglaze, which I think overall equals more damage.
I agree. Chung, Fan plus the shield here looks pretty nice. The ordering is a bit curious, but I think this is better overall. If you get, say, Kobold Lackey, you might not necessarily go for Fan. Whereas,
Kobold Skyvar's here.
Whereas the only draw that's better from the Fan is exactly the one he got.
True, actually, weirdly enough, yeah. But the high roll potential of the Kobold Lackey was even more insane, because if it's stuck, you can then just go Togwaggle and spell right away.
Yes. Okay. Could see Metamorphosis used now. 2 damage to the face.
That's...
It's tough. Is it 5 to the face?
I mean, that's probably better than Chaos Strike, Hero Power, and smashing in, right? You want to get the Metamorphosis active, I feel like.
I agree.
Whoa.
Wow. Inner Demon? I'm on board.
I think so,
So
right?
much damage!
Yeah, you're just closing out the game with damage. Yeah.
Time grows short.
And we do see that DawN...
Definitely not
is respecting the taunt here because both the glaive bounds are gone. So it's not like he can just keep shooting face and hope that gets there.
Well, he could have shot into the minion with the Metamorphosis, right, and still gone face. I guess he doesn't get to play the Vulpera then.
Yeah. Oh, one invoke off the full galley.
So many options.
He's got to go for it, right? Just stick out the active Kronks next turn?
He doesn't have to. He could make a strong play onto the board. Like, Skyvateer, evolve it into a 3-drop is probably better than the card draw, and then go for faceless.
Well, then you
or
would
go in the opposite order.
Right, yeah, and get the 6-drop.
Sure. Yeah. But that then, of course, uses the Lackey, which you might want to save for Heist Baron Togwaggle on the following turn.
And I don't feel like he has time to go for the Tog. I think blitzchung has got enough value between all of these chunky cards. What he needs is a way to heal out of range. And I think this turn, it's still reasonable not to get the healing, because 13 is pretty difficult without glaive bounds.
So now we want damage, right? We want Metamorphosis on this turn to start killing blitzchung.
Yep.
Excellent, we agree.
And blitzchung cannot heal out of range of the inner demon.
If he can hit Zephyrus and then go for Zephyrus Healing Touch.
He's not playing
Does that get
Highlander
there?
Rogue.
Oh yeah, of course, not playing the Highlander variant.
So, what are we looking at? Evolve into Kartut Defender? Like Shadow Step the Evolve?
Yeah.
Of course, from blitzchung's perspective, he can't expect an inner demon from the Vulpera. What he's thinking is that, alright, I've run I've run DawN out of both glaive, seen the Metamorphosis. But this will be not just the watermelon, but a demon smacking the watermelon to the face.
Oh yes, closing things out very, very cleanly there for DawN. I'm not 100% sure on some of his lines there. I think he could have started going a little bit more aggressively utilizing his cards. Right. He was left with quite a lot left towards the end of the game, and he didn't even hit any of the big card draw cards like Skull of Gul'dan. But the main thing is that he was still, I think, in with a good idea of the matchup, which is you want to save your burn spells to start going face there, because Rogue has very little healing and also very little burst left nowadays as well. So he wasn't even afraid of dying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny that we've seen it twice in a row now, that the Chaos Strike in particular is what DawN is so tripped up about. I just feel like that card is damage that cycles itself. It replaces itself, and you can get to the even more efficient burst in your deck or further card draw. So I don't see the reasoning behind saving it unless there's a specific minion he wants to clear using it. But by that point where it's turn 6, turn 7, then you want to clear minions with your Warglaives, right?
Yep. Couldn't agree more. I think that it could just be slightly a more fluid approach to the matchup where you're cycling through your deck a little bit quicker and looking for your other options. But DawN does still end up taking the win against blitzchung. Can blitzchung turn his luck around, or is he going to be on a like a 6-game losing streak now with the loss against Tyler earlier on in this season, just his last game? We're going to have to see after we come back from this short break as blitzchung tries to turn things around against DawN.
これってハースストーンに乗りたいって意味でいいのか
Okay, let me think.
노자리요. 긴 비행 중에 체력이 딸려도 그 생명력 잘 채워줄 것 같아가지고.
我应该会选那个死亡之翼吧，因为我觉得他那个动画特效特别酷，因为他骑上来应该也蛮酷的。
I'll choose that.
ハースストーンのカードに乗るとしたらデスウィングに乗りたいですね。
テスウィング乗ったことありましたけど、
I want to write Isra because I think his human form is really beautiful.
Cool.
Alexstrasza 是红龙。为什么？因为我只有想到这一条龙啊。Rich Alexstrasza 两个吗？Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. Thank you so much for joining us once again for our final game of the day here for Asia Pacific. As always, we're not going to be done after that, though. Europe with Raven and Sottle, and then Americas with Rodan, at least. We've yet to see what's going to be happening there in terms of the casters. But it is going to be the usual schedule nonetheless. And then if you are enjoying as well, please make sure to subscribe here on Hearthstone Esports YouTube channel so that you're always updated when we go live. I've been starting to get the useful reminders to remind me when it's time to start work 30 minutes after I've started working. But now for DawN, with the Demon Hunter taken out of the way there, Gia, stop laughing at me. blitzchung is needing to turn things around in his own right. But the Demon Hunter is kind of an expected win nonetheless.
Yes, indeed. It seems like a foregone conclusion that after the Warriors are banned out, the Demon Hunters come out and take a win. And then it really depends on these last two decks where a lot of people have been bringing Quest Warlock to see if that can get the win here. It's DawN who has that deck, whereas blitzchung has that Rogue, which we already saw struggle a bit. And not just in his series, but with Staz as well.
And we are going to get to see that Warlock now up against, I believe, the Demon Hunter. So, you know, if your prophecy is correct, then we will be seeing the Demon Hunter getting the swift win here just to start things off, which based on today, I think is not at all ridiculous to assume. DawN is playing the slightly less anti-aggro build. Some of the other Korean players have been going for the Kartut Defenders instead of Abyssal Summoners in order to have a little bit more life gain and a bit more game against, I imagine, the Hunters and Demon Hunters of this world. However, DawN with a much more standard list.
That is true. The only strange card you might see here is the lack of one questing explorer. He's got Acidic Swamp Ooze in there, which could be very helpful in the map.
And he still manages to find the other questing explorer as well as a Dark Skies. This is a very good anti-Demon Hunter starting hand.
Yes, it is indeed. And the more I look at the matchup, the more I tend to realize that why Warlock feels unfavored is that even though they have in the early turns, they have to choose between removal and tapping. And the more turns of tap they miss, the less likely it is to have all that removal in hand. When we're playing the mirror, it seems like you have removal for days, but that's because nothing's going on and there's no pressure at the early turns.
One thing I also really like here about the game plan from blitzchung is actually holding back on coin beaming sidekick, because all of the answers that can come down to the to the Battle Fiend here basically do 4 damage if they're going to do anything. It's Nether Breath, Soulfire is pretty much it for the most part, and so you may as well hold it back, because this now enables the potential for blitzchung to go for a coin Glavebound turn with the Umberwing still equipped.
Yeah, I can see that game plan, but the immediate problem still stands that he's not got a way to deal with this Questing Explorer without trading in Battle Fiend, which is his premier way of getting early pressure in. So I like that he's holding on to the Umberwing here, just kind of giving up the beaming sidekick as fodder, but he preserves the more aggressive minion.
And again, the curve is still alive that I really like the look of coin Glavebound, or maybe even going for an early Skull of Gul'dan as well, although with the Outcast that doesn't look too likely.
With the trade from DawN, not killing off the beaming sidekick, I think it's clear for a Dark Skies turn. If he wanted to set up for the Nether Breath, clearly would have gotten rid of the 1-2 instead.
Yeah. And therefore, in response, DawN is going to have 7 cards in hand, which means, unless there's a little something extra in the form of Rain of Fire or the Mortal Coil, it wouldn't quite get the job done.
That is a clear. Takes 2 cards, but the follow-up is there. He's got the Crazed Netherwing also active next turn.
So many possibilities.
And he's got that crucial combo of the Moarg Nether Breath. DawN has everything he needs to stay toe-to-toe with blitzchung's aggression.
And I think that's such a good point you bring up, Nigia, about the Moarg into Nether Breath, because at first glance, that play looked kind of weird to me. He had Moarg into Rain of Fire, which developed a minion, used less of a crucial resource in the Dark Skies, and still cleared the board. But that healing is just too important. Look at what on this turn it can do. Blast away the board, heal up to a very, very high amount.
Oh, a mega swing, and blitzchung, as it stands, doesn't have an answer to this Moarg.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is looking very winnable for DawN at the moment.
Twin Slice.
Yeah, still not even a clear, is it?
Not. I think blitzchung, as early as now, might be on some type of big altruist game plan.
Yeah. I love that. It's such a great euphemism for he's losing. It's just, he's on the altruist game plan now.
It's not a euphemism. Demon Hunter's not losing until they don't have time to get to that anymore.
Okay, they're regular
Mark my
winning
words.
as opposed to super winning.
Okay. Oh, DawN's giving up his Moarg.
It plays around, well, that card in
Yes.
I-Beam in order to take out the Crazed Netherwing, but I think he's definitely looking at a Skull of Gul'dan play on that turn anyway.
Sure. And of
I
course,
think
the
you can make a
2-1 was
good
dead
read
to the
that's there.
weapon anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
I repeat myself, blitzchung is on an altruist game plan. Not in hand yet.
It would definitely be insane. I think as long as there's no other big heal effect that comes down from DawN, he could, at the moment, just be on a hit them with Warglaves game plan.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
That's huge!
Warglaves, Twin Slice, the non-discovered one. You get rid of every minion, go face. Push the Glavebound to the face as well.
Disgusting.
Maybe you leave up the 2-2. Just to have an additional Warglaves charge.
Yeah, I almost wonder if he's thinking of going for the Glavebound trade into the 5-3 instead.
That's reasonable. Warlock is not without burst, for sure.
Yeah.
Alright. He clears the entire board, forces DawN to have the other Nether Breath, Soulfire, or Calidan. Oh!
Big top deck. DawN still needs something a little bit more impactful, though. At the moment, he's clearing. But one of the players has to run out of stuff first, and at the moment, it feels like that's going to be DawN.
Does it? blitzchung doesn't have any draw right now. And,
Well,
you know,
I should...
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
DawN could just play a Malygos next turn.
I guess I was kind of ignoring the 9 mana dragons, which are actually pretty light.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Oh my gosh, we are gonna see a tempo dragon, I'm pretty sure. If not, it's another, which feels pretty awful.
That is a plot twist which changes things around, but not enough to distract from the Dragon Queen, Alex Straza.
And he goes Alex Straza because that's 8 damage. He's looking at Malygos Rain of Fire for 14.
Great point. But now that is 1 damage off lethal, Gia.
2, 3. Yeah, as I counted.
Oh!
But he could just ship it all face, right? He's seen both the nether breaths, and then
Great
he could
point.
just I-beam the ooze. And then at 19,
I mean, he's
you
alive.
could make it 11 because the Alex Straza goes face.
Yeah.
It's still not that likely DawN kills him. I
Yeah.
like the 2-turn setup.
It's almost impossible that he kills him, given the cards that have played.
Demons. Demons.
I'm thinking DawN's outs are just an extremely early active Zephyrus and knows that it's not active as of last turn because this Alex Straza didn't get a...
Well, the other out is drawing the Aranassis, right? It's a huge
Sure.
source of heal.
Yeah. Keep forgetting about that. And Alex Straza itself, the other Alex Straza, natural Alex Straza.
Great point, yep. Classic Alex.
Which one, blitzchung? There's 2. He is all in here, except the 1 slice.
I guess holding
Just
back for
enough to
Altruist.
prevent a tap. Yeah. On tap, he cannot play this Netherwing. He has to plot twist for the Aranassis. There's the Alex, but no mana.
Oh.
And he
Is
just...
there any way he can draw? There's no way
No.
to do it, right?
No, there's none. That's the game. Wow.
Staggeringly close there. For a game where he went Nether Breath with a Moarg, another Nether Breath, it seems insane that Demon Hunter can still take the win, but I guess it just speaks to that matchup. The Warlock, even when it gets those insane starts, just struggles to turn things around, to actually put the pressure back on its opponent.
It happens time, and you know, you were saying it's just a euphemism for losing. I mean, he didn't even get the Altruist game plan and he won. I don't know, Demon Hunter just doesn't seem to run out of steam, and if you even force one piece of healing to come out at a not ideal time,
Yeah.
it's just finite.
And it is indeed a fine night for blitzchung as he tries to turn things around here, potentially getting himself up to guaranteed right up at the top of Division B, whereas DawN is in a very rough situation, right down at the bottom. But with the Demon Hunters out of the way, we're kind of just reset again, Gia.
Yep, always my prophecies come true. And so, because we cheat, I can also prophesize about what the next matchup will be with 100% accuracy, and that will be
Wow.
DawN on the Druid versus blitzchung's Hunter. And that's another matchup that we seem to be back and forth on, but the stats most recently show that the Druid is favored.
Yeah, and I think I can get on board with that. If you hit an early Glowfly Swarm, which is definitely what you are looking to find above all else by a drastic margin, I find, the Hunter is left with very few answers to it at all. Even a Zephyrus, a lot of the time they'd have to go for like Zephyrus Lightning Storm, which is awful because then all of a sudden you're overloaded massively for your next turn. The more consistent game plan for the Druid is, of course, to just kill, for the Hunter, sorry, is to kill the Druid as quick as possible, which this hand does pretty well for blitzchung.
Oh yeah, and DawN with the full keep, you can already see that that's a solid plan. It's not got the Glowfly involved, but it has the curve and almost an inevitable Mount Seller, which I can definitely respect.
Okay, well, kind of good that he got rid of the Scavenger's Ingenuity in a way, withdrawing both the beasts straight off.
The Highlander
thing
Hunter
just-
list from blitzchung. Of course, not running the secrets, also not running the Mana Saber. So those are just the beasts in the deck.
Scary for DawN to lose the Ysera, but not disastrous at all, as this matchup is usually won or lost in the early turns of the game.
I would agree. Go for the wild growth. Always bluff the glowfly. Always bluff.
Is it cold in the shadows?
Maximum damage. I like it a lot.
Such a strong curve. All the ramp in the world for DawN, but not enough removal.
You know, this does something. He can go ramp here and then... I guess Crystal Power Moonfire, but he kind of wants to save the Crystal Power to heal.
Yeah.
Or if he wants to hold on to the Moonfires for Mountseller, then it could just be Crystal Power. And the Overflow still wouldn't overdraw him next turn.
That's what I'm looking at Crystal Power. Also, with the way the damage cutoffs work, I think he really wants at least one Moonfire to pair with a Bog Beam for this 5-4. And my thinking also is that the 4-3 dies to one Bog Beam, one Wrath, whereas the Ooze would be overcommitting damage into it to kill it with those. But it is just removing more damage right now.
And I know it's a fairly easy curve for blitzchung, but you can just feel how at home he feels here. We're just instantly slamming down the plays, not even thinking about it.
Whoa.
It's just instinctual to him now.
There's no Bog Beams, Tara.
No.
DawN's
Bog Beams.
dying.
He is very
Yep.
dying here.
We've seen this from Surrender, and it's just good. Deal with a 6-5.
Fungal Fortunes could, of course, find
Yeah.
the Bog Beams for DawN, which feels pretty necessary if he wants to have any chance of pulling this back. Obviously, to go alongside the Mountseller.
Correct. I think he starts with the Iron Bark. Yeah. Because you don't want to be spending the Moonfires when you can possibly generate Griffins, which deal 4 immediately.
Great point. That's not bad.
Uh-huh. Still no Bog Beams? Both of them? In the bottom 10?
It's still pretty insane here. Okay, that's not.
Piranhas is just...
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can generate one more taunt, pretty huge.
So no lethal, even with Varanus here.
Correct. But he can push 6 face. Get rid of the Mountseller. He's not dead to a Savage Roar.
Good Order versus the Porcupine.
I mean, he's got to be thinking about double Roar potentially. This is
Yeah.
8 plus... I think he would be dead to double Roar.
Yes, he would be dead.
So if you're done, do you just cycle for it?
The only way he can hit it would just be, and to have enough mana spare, sorry, would be
Rising Winds.
Yeah.
Got 2 shots. And if
8.
you don't hit the Roar, you can hit the Crystal Power and just use 1 Roar still.
How close is he with just the Power of the Wild here? He has 8 plus 10 plus 4, 22, 23, so it's not lethal.
It's pretty far. And we've seen DawN struggle with this before.
Yeah, I mean,
badly.
I think he's gearing up for a trade here. I'd have to imagine, like, trade and then overflow, I think is probably the play he's looking at here.
Sure. That is he'd heal and board clear.
Okay. Same thinking.
This allows him the mana to play Crystal Power if it comes off the top. There's the Bog Beam finally. And the other one. Oh, you overdraws the second Crystal Power. Chung nodding his head. He knows there's no counter lethal. Because only 2 minions left on board.
Kill command is one off from lethal here, so blitzchung has not won the game quite yet, but he knows there is 0 healing left in the deck for DawN.
Just picking up a Zixor in his meantime.
Oh my god. This 5-4 on its own is actually
Wait.
so annoying for DawN.
Was this the play from blitzchung? I feel like he was supposed to cycle for more burst, because if DawN goes super wide this turn and blitzchung still can't kill him, how much does the Zixor actually achieve in the face of a Savage Roar?
Well,
I think blitzchung was
DawN goes
supposed to
super wide,
yeah.
then he just kills him with Unleash the Hounds, right?
Oh, right. Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would have had to have been taunts as well, and he saw the Iron Bark, so
exactly.
makes a lot of sense.
Although with the hero power, actually, having said that, he is 1 damage off winning the game.
But there are plenty of outs from tracking.
Yeah.
He's weighing that against just playing Zixor.
I wonder.
Surely it can't be just the Zixor, right? But if he misses the lethal, then he's just dead on the following turn? Talking Zephyrus, Stormhammer, Kill Command.
So if he goes for the full trade here, double Roar doesn't kill him.
Whoa! No more healing left, but this could generate taunts. But then DawN has to think about Unleash also. Does he want to go that wide?
I just think he's got to put that out of his mind at the moment. He needs to win the game by just going
Mm-hmm.
wide enough to win with 1 Savage Roar.
Yes.
Or, I mean, actually, with 2 Savage Roars, because he's guaranteed to hit it next turn with the Rising Winds.
Correct.
So, in answer to your question, he doesn't actually have to go that wide if he doesn't want to.
Turn with 3 minions, it looks like. After
Yep.
this 3-3 takes a trade.
Which would guarantee him the win.
Whoa! The Griffin! Extra damage. Oh! Gotta
GG.
be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Savage Roar, that's going to get the job done with the Unleash the Hounds.
Wow. So close there.
An excellent effort by DawN, and I like the question you bring up there by blitzchung. I still think I'm going to err on the side of saying it was the correct play to go for the evasive Feywing, just because it put DawN in a bad situation. He had to have the Power of the Wild to even stand a chance, and even then, blitzchung was likely to just take the win.
That was super close at the end there. And you know what? I'm so happy to see from DawN the level of thought that he was going through. I mean, he did end up losing that game, but you could see he was thinking about the Unleash the Hounds outs.
Oh,
he wasn't
yes.
extending that much when he thought he was dead to just that 1 card. And we saw early on the game plan of just from the mulligan, going for the overflow and not getting too greedy with the Glowfly. And that turn where he went for Power of the Wild overflow instead of the Savage Roar could have been really great if he had
Great
overdone
point.
anything but the Crystal Power.
Yeah, it was just that little bit of extra healing he needed. Maybe that could have been the difference maker versus Zephyrus offering lethal. You know, so many different odds there, especially as blitzchung at the end, they could have just gone for a tracking to hit lethal. There were so many outs. But in the end, a slightly more level-headed approach that I think still put him in a very, very strong position. And now he is left with only his rogue. He is one of the few players in kind of like the roughly third of the field that is not going for Druid here, and has instead also not brought Warlock, one of the few players to not have either, and instead has the Hunter and the Rogue, the non-Highlander Rogue, which again is a little bit different compared to most of the field here in APAC. And we'll have to see if it can turn things around against the Druid, which traditionally has not been a good matchup.
Yeah, that Togwaggle keep. I am interested in that. I have not thought about a game plan against Druid where you just go
Is it full greed?
Is it? Seems pretty greedy to me.
So your point being that you want to try and find either a huge Edwin or a Flick to answer the Glowfly Storm, I assume.
Who in their right mind hides
That
the
or
loot?
a curve that can get on board and maybe put you at parity on the Glowfly turn. Bunch of lackeys.
Yeah. I think the thinking is with Pharaoh Cat alone, you have a decent chance at just getting a good curve in its own right. You know, there's quite a few 2-drops that you have available,
Fate awaits you in
3
the
and
ashes.
4-drops as well. And Togwaggle is just a huge spike that can win you the game in its own right.
I think that it's the Faceless Corruptor that I'm really looking for from
Okay,
blitzchung.
sure.
The Tog to me strikes me as you need a safe turn to play it. And that's going to be going into the mana where the Druid can either be playing Glowfly or they've ramped and they can play their Mount Seller. I don't feel like it is often that you'll get the time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I mean, we can clearly see the worst possible kind of
Whoa.
situation has occurred now, where DawN has gone super quick here and is able to get one of the fastest Mount Sellers we've seen in a while.
It really is. It's not ideal though. No bog beams and
Sure.
nothing to innervate out. But you'll take 3 activations where you can get it. Especially because this is the not secret version. Doesn't have to worry about a Blackjack Stunner landing on his Mount Seller. There is a 1 of Sap in blitzchung's list though.
Gia, DawN just killed a 1/1 Pirate instead of a Lackey.
Oof!
That is potentially very, very scary here. I mean, I guess there's a chance here, a very real chance, I should say, that blitzchung is under too much pressure to go for the Togwaggle, but even giving him the option, I think is a
Right.
pretty serious oversight from DawN.
I would completely agree. Points. Oh my gosh!
Oh,
That's insane!
hitting in Mount Seller is huge. The other one deleted from the deck for DawN.
Granted, the taunts are a pretty good outcome for DawN. He can at least dictate how the trades go, and he can bait out this Ysera.
Yeah.
For blitzchung now, I'm thinking he even steps his lackey, because it does look like the way he
Interesting.
loses now is to a Ysera. And so he can go lackey Tog next turn.
But if a Ysera comes down, then his lackey likely doesn't die, right?
That's true. He had also just seen a Moonfire. It's these stealth minions that are problematic.
Wow, he agrees. I mean, maybe to play it down right now to just get a 7-drop as well.
Yeah. Sure.
Whoa!
Whoa, what is the
Marsh
name of that?
Hydra, is that?
I don't know.
I think that's called Marsh Hydra. Yes, I'm correct. Its text says, Rush, no active effect there. After this attack, add a random 8-cost minion to your hand. Not a Druid minion that I have ever really seen be played, but it's a pretty good outcome off the Evolved.
That is insane. And DawN can't just play the Ysera. There's far too much damage staring down at him on the other side, and the trades with this 3/5 lifesteal are pretty abysmal. So now I'm just looking at development, Soul of the Forest. I don't think that gets there either. We could see 1 Eagle, Power of the Wild for buff, just so he can take a 5 attack trade into a 5 health.
Yep.
And then Soul of the Forest?
Sounds really scary.
blitzchung's list is running double Eviscerate, so it's doubly scary. Okay, forgoing the soul altogether. Maki out of the way now.
Setting up the lethal, at the very least, on the backswing with the Savage Roar, and so blitzchung does not have the liberty to just focus on his own game plan completely. He needs to react at least a little bit, but he is not going to fall into this trap at all.
Yeah, just the Seal Fate to start off the turn seems pretty good.
Is it ever just Carter? And then you can trade away your Greyheart, I suppose, and
Yes?
go face.
You're
yeah.
speaking my language. I like that. Yeah, the Cartoon is super problematic for Druid. You have to push 2 procs of damage into it.
There's a couple of pretty good outcomes here, I will say. Goblin or Kobold were insane.
Yeah, it is so nuts here. Now he can just rush out the Skyvateer, deal with everything but 1/4/3, and still push the 7 face.
As long as the 7 goes face, Gia, I think you and I are both happy.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, yes.
Wow, have an Alec here.
Alec is insane! Hello?
Doubt it will be very impactful. I mean,
You know
blitzchung is so far.
Marsh Hydra Druid. I am making it a thing after this game.
Eat your heart out, Dragon Druid.
Pathetic. Imagine.
Oh man, we were joking around, but you can see how much this means to DawN. This is also his last series for the round robin. And it
A
looks
2 and
like,
5 would tie him with Staz, whom he has lost to, I believe, earlier on. DawN has taken the win, the loss from Staz.
And also, if Samuel Tsao even gets to 2 and 5, he still has one more series. Right now he's 2 and 4. Then DawN has also lost to Samuel Tsao. But if we, of course, have a 3-way tie, it's about TB2.
And we'll get into that a little bit more as the matches start to come through from Samuel Tsao's second match and Frosty's final match as well.
DawN is scrounging for a way to stay alive, hasn't had the time to play this Ysera. Jung doesn't have the lethal yet. He's got every powerful legendary in the deck, and one that's not from the deck.
Yeah, take your pick of dragons there. They all do much of the same thing. Overdrawing. Who cares? Oh wait, he's not. Perfect.
Yeah.
You passed my test,
Imagine
Gio.
finding a flaw. And even with the Moonfire to get rid of this lackey, Alec here is another 6 damage for the lethal.
Hey! That's the blitzchung we know and love right there. Easy peasy win. And while I am very happy for blitzchung, 5-1 record is much more what we expect from such a strong, aggressive Hearthstone player. I mean, what can you even say about DawN? It breaks my heart to see how much he cares about his spot in Grandmasters, but how likely he is to lose it at this point.
Oh, yeah, it is really looking grim for him, for Staz. So far, Frosty has had the worst run of it, but Frosty and Samuel Tsao still have another series to possibly equalize those scores, or in Staz's case, pull ahead. For DawN and for DawN, it's just over now. And he's just gotta watch everybody else. That's the worst feeling.
It is having to just pray, leave in the hands of some of your greatest competitors in Hearthstone Grandmasters in the Division B. But the main thing is that now we are looking at right up at the top, tied in terms of win rates so far, Tyler and blitzchung, which we can see now in the standings, guaranteed to be top 4 and fighting for that first and second spot. Oh no, Division B, sorry, it doesn't make any difference because we're just fighting out to get through to the last 2 spots. Because of course, top 4 of Division B, only 2 of those players, after we play an extra little bracket, will be going through to the top 8 overall for playoffs.
Right. We'll have a mini play-in bracket where first seed plays the 4th and second plays 3rd, and the 2 winners from there will be joining Division A's top 6 for the playoffs. It is really scary though. Just 1 place below the top 4 is already danger for relegation. So you can see how much that means to DawN. Samuel Tsao, bit of an error there, should be a bit higher, I suppose, because he's still got 1 more match to play. And DawN and Staz can do nothing but watch now how their fate pans out as Shaxi, Tom, and the rest play the remaining series.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we can say for sure now in terms of bottoms of the division is Kin has no chance of being out of the danger zone of 7th and 8th, given his loss today down to 0-6. Frosty, I believe, unless we're mistaken, maybe that loss there for DawN shake things up. There is still a chance for him to not be in bottom 2, as slim as it may be. We saw a tweet from him just a little bit earlier today, basically saying his farewells to Grandmasters. He himself believes that he is guaranteed to be out. I don't think he actually believes that anymore. It may have been rectified, but at least in his heart, he does not think his chances are good. And if he doesn't win his next series later on this week, he will be guaranteed out.
It has been such a heavy-hearted day of Hearthstone. We've had the ups and the downs. I'm really happy to see the play from Samuel Tsao and DawN cleaned up a lot recently.
Agreed.
And blitzchung also keeping it up with the pristine play that we've been seeing. And from Kin, even though he took another loss, I think Kin has been playing stellar Hearthstone. And, it's been amazing play all throughout the day. And so it's so tough to have to say goodbye to 2 people at the end of this weekend and a third after next week.
Yeah, it is very hard stuff to watch. But I will say, in terms of the storylines, the memes, and most importantly, the BM when you win, APAC is truly unrivaled here for these players. We've seen a dab, we've seen a little bit of this from blitzchung as well. It is truly unrivaled. Even Tyler getting his mum in on the dabbing action, just to truly rub salt in the wound.
Oh yeah, APAC is unlike the rest, not just with the Druids, but just the ability of memeing. I keep saying that our players are relatively shy, maybe they're not so open, but when it comes to trash talking and the gestures, nobody even comes close. Hello?
Nobody comes close. But we'll get to see if Europe can maybe hold a candle to what we're throwing out here. Who will be coming up now, as that was our 5th and final match of the day. Tomorrow we will be having a much better idea of, in terms of the tiebreakers, who is likely to be able to fight for their lives and who is guaranteed out of Hearthstone Grandmasters. But for today, thank you so much for watching us here. We're going to send you over to Raven and Sottle now for Europe. Enjoy.